about Donald Trump is breaking our immigration laws and sending everybody all over the country, and he's breaking the laws. Well, you know, America, that's just not true. I'm going to read something to you here right there. This is judges out of bounds and blocking deportation of terrorist threats. Now, this is from the IRLI, Immigration Reform Law Institute. Now, this comes from a gentleman by the name of Matt O'Brien. He's a lawyer. Now, anyone who has taken a basic civics course can tell you that the United States government has three co-equal branches. Congress makes the laws, the executive branch carries them out, and the judiciary interprets them. These are separate, independent functions carried out as a part of a system of checks and balances. When one branch starts intruding into the wheelhouse of others, the systems of checks and balances collapses like a house of cards built on wobbly tables. The judicial overreach in the terms used to describe circumstances where the judiciary starts behaving like a super legislator or an ad hoc executive. Unfortunately, that's the kind of behavior has been particularly prevalent in immigration policies. Here's just two recent examples. The U.S. District Court, Leo Storkin, who agreed to hear the case of Dr. Rashad. He wasn't allowed to do this because he's not a federal judge. They hear the case of Dr. Rashad Alawin. Dr. Alawin was a Lebanese citizen, had been admitted to the United States temporarily with an employment-related status. When she attempted to return to the U.S., she was denied readmission. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection had uncovered evidence that she was a supporter of Hezbollah, an Iranian-backed terrorist group, will interfere with the legitimate attempts to protect U.S. citizens from the likes of Trende Alagwa. Another one was Chief Justice James E. Borsborough, the U.S. District Court of Columbia, who tried to stop the deportation of Venezuelan gang members under the Aliens Enemy Act. The legislation allows for expedition removal of enemy foreign nationals, whether any invasion or predatory incursion is perpetuated and attempted or threatened against the territory of the United States by any foreign nation or government. These actions were prime examples of judicial activism, when judges interpret statutes to further their preferred policy goals rather than according to the established legal guidelines. Now, if the Supreme Court does not take action to curb judicial incursion into the legislative and executive spheres of government, our republic runs high risk of devolving into a hierarchy, a system ruled by unelected judges, just like James E. Boasberg and Justice Leo T. Storkin had just now done. So in 1950, in the case of Key versus, I can't pronounce this last name, folks, I'm sorry, Shalasanarsali, something like that, a big old long last name. The Supreme Court made it abundantly clear that the admission of aliens to this country is not a right, but a privilege, which is granted only upon such terms as the United States prescribes, and it is not within the power of any court unless expressly authorized by law to review the determination of the political branches of government to exclude a given alien. In other words, the decision to exclude Dr. Alawin belongs solely to the U.S. Customs Borders Protection. Judge Storkin had no authority to review that decision because it involved an unnamed, non-resident alien with no rights to be admitted to the United States. Similarly, the decisions to invoke the Aliens Enemy Act exercises the president's power over defense and foreign affairs. And the Chang Ping versus U.S. Supreme Court made it clear that the conduct of foreign relations of our government is committed by the Constitution to the executive and legislative and political departments of the government, not the states, the government. And the property of what may be done in the exercise of political power is not subject to judiciary inquiry or decisions. That's a fancy way of saying that's making the determination about foreign affairs is an inherently political endeavor. Now, judicial overreach and judicial activism undermine the separation of powers. They enable the judiciary to nullify the will of the electorate and lead to poor policies born of lack of expertise. Indeed, the very purpose of the Constitution was to avoid such problems by assigning federal responsibilities to branches of the government best suited to handle them. Courts are set up to apply the law. They are not designed to evaluate intelligence information, account for diplomatic concerns, or assess military capabilities, such as U.S. District Court judge are not and will never be in a position to determine whether Dr. Allen presents a terrorist threat to the United States or whether members of the Chende Alagra, a state-sponsored criminal organization pouring over our borders, constitutes a predatory incursion. That task should fall to the President with the Constitution, Secretaries of States, Defense, and as Congress intended. American voters gave President Trump a second term in office based mainly on his promise to restore integrity to the American borders and rid the country of illegal aliens. As long as Mr. Trump's policies pass constitutional muster, and most of them do, as Mr. Trump has a record of success in the courts, the American people deserve to see them put into place. And it should not be within the powers of any unelected jurist or thwart the process of republic democracy or by bypassing the checks and balances set forth by our Constitution. And if the Supreme Court does not take action to curb the judicial incursion into the legislative and executive spheres of government, our republic runs a high risk of devolving into a hierarchy, a system ruled by unelected judges. Any policy that a single federal judge dislikes will fall prey to a nationwide injunction, and American democracy be replaced with the rule by a credentialed elite that has never been even voted into office in our federal offices or by a federal judge. That's what's going on right now, America. And so, President Trump, everything he's been doing has been right. Just like the case of what do you call it? What was his name? God darn it. I think his name, I'll look it up right here real quick. Just give me a couple seconds. I think his name is Garcia. The guy that's what it was. The Justice Department, Alberto Garcia, was arrested and deported in March despite having been granted protection by an immigration judge in 2019. Well, now the Democrats were screaming that this guy didn't have due process, which he did. It wasn't just one judge, not just two judges, but 4 judges here. As McClellan is, what do you call it? McClellan is she works for the Donald Trump administration and stuff like that. She said, McClellan, I completely disagree with that. I mean, we've had multiple instances actually with the individual in question that you were mentioned earlier, the Maryland MS-13 gang member, where multiple immigration judges reviewed evidence and determined that he was a verified member of the MS-13. That wasn't one judge. That wasn't two judges. That was multiple judges and appeal courts. So I would actually just completely disagree with you. She was an interview. There has been multiple reviews and processes. So, this is what Democrats are doing. They're feeding hyperbole out here. They're feeding the fear-based ideology, but they're not giving out the true, of what we call the true laws of our country because they know that most people won't look them up. So, America, take this what it is, what it's not. I'm just giving some laws from what we call I'm giving some information from the Immigration Reform Law Institute. Take it for what it is. You can go look it up yourself. God bless you, America.